Then this public hearing is now closed. Commissioners,
I'll make a motion to approve TID number 9 as presented.
motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion on that motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, just for
Minor.
clarification, that's for the resolution in the packet
Correct.
for purposes of establishing the boundaries as
Correct.
presented?
Yes, everything that was presented, my motion is to approve everything that was presented. The boundaries, the amount, the dollars, the time frame, all of it.
Thank you.
Any discussion? No discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Phil. Next item under new business is item B, Todd and Cindy Wetterall, property owners of a 57.4 acres located on Fond du Lac Avenue, which is State Highway 145, a rezoning application from A1 agricultural to A2 agricultural district, and a 2-lot certified survey map to divide the 57.4 acre property. That's on tonight's agenda for public hearing and action. To give us more information and background on this new business item, we'll turn the meeting over again to our Community Development Director, Jeff Retzlaff.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you indicated, the Wetterau's and Worcesters have acquired 54 acres of property straddling Fond du Lac Avenue. They're proposing to essentially redivide the land into 2 parcels, one to the north of Fond du Lac Avenue and one to the south, and rezone the land from the current A1 to the A2 agricultural districts. Lot 1, as proposed in the CSM, would be 23.6 acres, and Lot 2 to the south, 30.7 acres. Both the 2-lot land division and the rezoning are consistent with the 2020 land use plan map classifications, which are agricultural, conservation, residential. And again, the purpose is to redivide and rezone for purposes of creating 2 what I would call hobby farm or residential parcels. Both are currently undeveloped. Wetland delineation and soil test results are pending. Those need to be submitted to the village prior to any recording of the CSM. And we did receive some last-minute technical corrections from our village engineer with some minor adjustments that would need to be reflected on a revised CSM prior to recording after action by the village board. With that, the staff recommendation is to approve the rezoning from A1 agricultural to A2, and also to approve the certified survey map application, the proposed 2-lot certified survey map, subject to 4 conditions.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. I will open this public hearing by hereby stating a notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held before the Village of Germantown Plan Commission at the Germantown Village Hall located on Mequon Road in Germantown and virtually through the WebEx platform on the following date and time noted below on Monday, May 9th at 6:30 p.m. or later. The purpose of said hearing is to hear any and all parties, their attorneys or agents for or against the following applications: for a rezoning the subject property from the A1 agricultural district to the A2 agricultural district pursuant to section 17.13 of the village zoning code, and a 2-lot certified survey map to divide the subject property described below. The applicant is Todd and Cindy Wetterall, applicants and the property owners, and the property address is Fond du Lac Avenue, as described earlier in the presentation. At this time, I would ask anybody that wishes to come forward to speak for or against the rezoning. To do so, just come to the podium and state your name and your address for the record. If you are joining us via WebEx, just make your wishes known so that the moderator can give you access to make your statement. And is there anyone wishing to come forward to speak for or against this zoning application? Sir?
I more or less just have a couple questions. Todd Roscoff, I live off of Lovers Lane right across from the property. Address is North 124, West 18325 Lovers Lane. So would this just mean there would potentially be 2 properties, like they could build 2 houses there and that would be the end of it? Or there could be future developments of smaller parcels?
sorry. Under the proposed zoning, A2 agricultural, which has a minimum parcel size of 10 acres, it's possible that each of the two pieces could be further subdivided under the proposed zoning. However, at this point, the information that we received from the property owner is that the intention is to simply clean up the property line, acknowledging, if you will, the fact that Fond du Lac Avenue runs through the middle of the land, and to create a parcel to the north of that and to the south.
And the only other question, if this got rezoned and accepted, if the zoning changed, like more toward the 2050, where they could divide into smaller lots, would there have to be more notice brought to the neighboring properties before they would do that?
Yes.
Yes.
I just had some questions, so.
Okay, thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward to speak for or against the rezoning of the property from A1 to A2 agricultural? Anyone wishing to come forward to speak for or against? And this public hearing is now closed. Commissioners?
Make a motion to approve the rezoning of the property from the A1 agricultural district to the A2 agricultural district as proposed.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Trustee Baum.
So to follow up on your line of questioning, sir, somebody can come forward in the future and ask for this to be changed again. They have to come through this meeting and you will be notified that, yes, we can put a very small, dense subdivision next to you if it all gets approved. So that was one of my questions is there anything that the residents should know about? Because I know the people on the cul-de-sac to the north and east of this were subject to a lot of concern about the Apple Orchard Winery. Any other concerns that these residents should be aware of? Not at this time because. we
Not at
don't know
this
of any.
time, there, yeah,
Yeah, we
and
don't
none that I'm
know
aware
what
of.
somebody will bring forward tomorrow. But today,
There's no plans.
there's no plans. Tomorrow, we may see you again.
Yes, sir. Anybody that's surrounding, within a certain range would be notified of that. Further discussion? You still have the floor.
So Jeff, can you go back to the map that had the two rectangles on it? I'm confused on where the property line is. This leads me to believe that the property line is still north of Fond du Lac Avenue where the two green lines are.
No, the two green boxes represent the existing condition,
Okay?
and you can see the lower parcel that exists in the larger green box
Okay.
has a corner, the northeast corner, actually on the north side of Fond du Lac Avenue.
So we're cutting off at Fond du Lac Avenue and everything north of there is going to be lot one.
Yes.
Everything south of there is lot two, except for this little house that's a donut.
That's somebody else's property.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Further discussion? Mr. I thought you were going to ask something. All right. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion to rezone from A1 to A2, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. Next motion.
Make a motion to approve the proposed two-lot certified survey map for the Todd and Cindy Wetterall and Kyle Worcester property on Fond du Lac Avenue, subject to the four conditions as presented. It was on the
Second
next
that.
page.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. No discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. Takes care of new business item B, taking us to new business item C. Thank you for coming tonight. Keith and Carrie Seaman, property owners of West 189 North 12712 Deerwood Circle, a rezoning application from an RS2 single-family residential to RS3 single-family residential and a two-lot certified survey map to divide the 3.4 acre property. That's on tonight's agenda for public hearing and action. To give us more information and background on this new business item, we'll turn the meeting over to our associate planner, Emily Zant.
Thank you. So the property owners and applicants of the 3.4 acre lot
located on the east side of Deerwood Circle are seeking approval of a two-lot certified survey map for the purpose of creating one additional lot buildable for a single-family dwelling. The current lot is zoned RS2 single family. The proposal is to divide off the northern 2 acres to create lot 1, which will be buildable for a single family dwelling, and that will remain in the RS2 district. The rezoning comes in for lot 2, which is where the existing dwelling is located, and that would be the proposal is to rezone that to the RS3 district. Again, lot 1 would be just over 2 acres, RS2, and lot 2 would be 1.39 acres and rezoned to RS3. The 2020 land use map does identify this as rural residential, which supports residential lots 1 acre in size or greater. There was a couple technical issues and plan corrections identified by the Public Works Department in the memo dated April 15th of this year, and those are included as a condition to be revised prior to recording of the CSM. So it's staff's recommendation to approve the proposed rezoning for Keith and Carrie Seaman to rezone proposed lot 2 from RS2 to single family to RS3 single family as proposed. Staff also recommends approval of the proposed 2-lot certified survey map to create one additional lot buildable for a single family dwelling, subject to one condition, and that's the technical corrections identified by the Department of Public Works.
Okay. Then we will open this public hearing by hereby stating a notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held before the Village of Germantown Plan Commission at the Germantown Village Hall located on Mequon Road in Germantown and virtually through the WebEx platform on Monday, May 9th at 6:30 p.m. or later. The purpose of said hearing is to hear any and all parties, their attorneys or agents for or against the following applications for a rezoning a portion of the subject property from the RS2 single-family residential district to the RS3 single-family residential zoning district pursuant to section 17.16 of the Village Zoning Code, and also a 2-lot certified survey map to divide the subject property described below. The applicant is Keith and Carrie Seaman, applicants and property owners, and the property address is West 189, North 12712, Deerwood Circle. If there is anyone in our audience or joining us via WebEx that would like to speak for or against the rezoning of this property, you're welcome to do so at this time. If you're within our audience, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. And if you're joining us via WebEx, please make your intent known so that the moderator can provide you access. Is there anyone that wishes to come forward to speak for or against? Sir?
Adam Forstner, address is W190 N12705 Deerwood Circle. I'm one of the 3 houses on that little cul-de-sac, and we're either proposing that lot 1, it's just vacant land. There's no reason why another house can't be on this little cul-de-sac, so I'm in favor of it.
Okay. Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward to speak for or against the rezoning of the property from the RS2 single-family residential district to the RS3 single-family residential district?
Ryan Geeson, North 127, West 18880 Dandy Drive. I live on the east side of Keith and Carrie, so lot 1 is almost my backyard. I'm for it.
Okay. Thank you for coming forward. Anyone else that wishes to come forward to speak for or against the rezoning application?
Hi, Danny Rothy, N127W18933 Dandy Drive, on the property directly to the south of what's designated there, and I welcome the development of this property further.
Great. Thank you for coming forward. Anyone else that wishes to come forward to speak for or against the rezoning application? One last time, is there anyone that wishes to come forward to speak for or against the rezoning application? Then this public hearing is now closed. Commissioners,
Make a motion to approve the rezoning request for Keith and Carrie Seaman to rezone proposed Lot 2 from RS2 to Single Family RS3 and a single family as proposed.
motion made and seconded, discussion. No discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Next motion.
Make a motion to approve the proposed two-lot certified survey map for Keith and Carrie Seaman property on Deerwood Circle to create one additional lot buildable for a single-family dwelling subject to the one condition as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve the certified survey map? No discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. Takes care of all items under new business item C and takes care of all public hearings on tonight's agenda. That then takes us to new business item D, which is the CDS Development Agent for Continental 6 Fund LP, property owners of Chili's Restaurant located at North 96 West 18640 County Line Road, a site plan review for exterior building renovations. To give us more background information on this new business item, we'll turn the meeting over to our Associate Planner, Emily Zant.
Thank you. So the Chili's restaurant property, the property owners and CDS Development have submitted plans for facade update for the existing restaurant located on County Line Road. The property is zoned B1 neighborhood business and is surrounded by B1 zoning to the west, north, and east, and then commercial zoning in Menominee Falls, south of County Line Road. This is the existing front elevation. There's 3 specific items that they are looking to accomplish with this facade update. The first is painting the exterior facade with natural earth tones, replacing the fabric awnings with black metal awnings, and then the addition of a red LED border along the roof line on the south, west, and east sides of the building. So this is the proposed elevation. I'm really just painting the areas that were red, painting those more neutral tones, browns, and then taking off the fabric awnings and replacing them with black metal awnings. The frames of the awnings will remain the same. And then the final other major improvement would be adding that LED border to the roof line of the front and the sides of the building. So pursuant to section 17.49 of the zoning code, the Plan Commission does act as the village's architectural review board. You can take action on this facade update. There's no updates to signage, access and parking, or landscaping proposed at this time. Electrical permits do need to be obtained for the LED border from inspection services. Then that staff recommends approval of the site and building plans for the facade update for Chili's Restaurant located on County Line Road, subject to 2 conditions. We do have a couple representatives of the project on WebEx this evening if you have any questions for them.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners?
Make a motion to approve the, I don't have a site plan. Do we?
You have this.
But it says site. I make a motion to approve the site and building plan for the proposed facade updates for the Chili's Restaurant located on County Line Road, subject to the 2 conditions as presented.
Motion made and seconded, discussion. Mr. Leshewski?
Can you tell me about the LED border? Is that, I see lights like right above the windows or above the black awning. That's not them, right? You're talking the perimeter of the roof. And if it is the perimeter, do they meet like the, the definition of a cutoff light, so we don't have glare, how bright they are, et cetera.
So yes, hi, this is Nandini. I'm representing Chili's, and I'm with Brinker. I'm the architect. The LED lights, I'll have to check with CDS if they have actually read the lighting requirements, but more often than not, it's really a very soft glow on kind of the perimeter of the building, kind of sits in a little niche, and it really reads as a really thin red orangish glow more than a light. So if there are parameters, we can send you the details to kind of check against that and make sure that it complies. And our signage department can do that.
And I guess just from a, administrative point, to make sure that they do meet the village requirements and ordinances on light.
Right. We don't have a
Absolutely.
specific requirement for that sort of accent lighting, but it was our understanding that it would be more of a glow than a
Right,
than a bright.
and that's fine. I just want to make sure it's not like a bright neon, perimeter
No,
light that would just be
Yeah.
kind of garish.
Yeah, it's not one of those retro lights. It's really more of a accent glow.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So does it go around the front elevation or just straight across at the same height? As like the,
No, it wraps around the tower. Give me 1 second. I had it pulled up here, my elevations for this. So yeah, it does kind of go around the two towers on either side, not the main tower, and then it wraps around the two sides of the building. It doesn't work its way around the back.
okay, so each of the
Pilasters.
the pilasters, it's on the top of each of those then as well? From what I can tell on proposed elevation south and west that I see. But I don't see it on the side of the tower in the left, well, what they consider the left elevation. It's not at the highest point of that tower. So to me, it looks like
Correct.
it goes along the elevation of where the pepper is on that front tower elevation.
That's correct. It's not on the high tower. It's just kind of along that, or where the perimeter height is, that's kind of where it stays.
If I may elaborate, it is on the
Mhm.
top of the parapet, but not on top of anything else.
Correct. You can
Okay,
say
so
that, yeah.
It's only at the low level. It's not on any of the high elements of the
It's
building
not on the high tower, correct.
or pilasters.
And this,
Our pilasters.
and any other buildings going through renovation, this is also an element for all, no matter where within the nation?
Yes, so this is all of these elements are part of our nationwide rollout. We're just the branding elements, right? And actually, even in our last reimage, we did the LED lights on almost all of the Chili's. There were only a few that were left out without it. So we're just kind of coming back and making sure we catch all of them. But the paints and the awnings, those are the two main elements that really define our branding this time, or so the refresh, so to say.
Okay.
Director Ratzlaff, can you go back to the original image? Yeah, that.
Change it. Okay.
I never cared for the watermelon look, so.
I know. We hear that a
It's
lot.
the pepper.
You call it pepper, I call it watermelon.
Watermelon, yeah, it's, they tend to fade over time. It probably was nice at the time that it was done, but just after a few years, it kind of fades and has a worn out look.
How many years has this been at this location?
The Hill Country reimage, I wasn't with the company when they did that, but I believe it was sometime in 2012,
Oh, okay.
maybe 2012, 2014.
So we're going on, okay. And
Yeah, and the good thing is, the new awnings that we're installing, they're not fabric awnings, right? So these are actual standing seam metal awnings, and they're extremely durable. There's not going to be any fading or maintenance issues, so to speak. So they'll stay looking new for many years. And the colors are just kind of back to earthy colors. There's no bright colors at all.
With the length of time that this has been established, have we had opportunity to look at any of the plantings that were approved to see if any replacements are needed or if everything is within what we consider living and approved? Trees, anything that's within islands, anything like that?
We haven't done a recent survey of the existing landscaping. Since it's all been kept up quite nicely, there hasn't been any reason to do any further investigation into that. But if you like, we can.
How about, I'm more concerned, you can see that, from and I'm not sure how current this photo is, but, anything around the building looks fine, to me, and it doesn't look like it's out of, it's either dead or it's out of control. I'm more interested in island trees, which we see the most damage or dieback from, especially if they were ash.
Yep.
I don't know.
I don't know if
haven't
there's
been
any
to-
issues.
And I'm sorry to say this, but I haven't been here in a while, so I haven't seen what the building looks like in regards to its landscaping.
Okay, if something is kind of dying, typically during a refresh, our construction managers will bring it up to the attention of our facilities, and they will go ahead and take care of it. Most definitely nothing will be damaged during the reimage, but if something is dying out, we always go back and replace it. And that really should be part of the process as an ongoing maintenance, not something that we need to particularly address during this reimage, but we will most certainly go back and take a look at it.
Okay,
So,
that's fair.
I'll go ahead and make that as a motion. Make a motion to add item 3, that staff and the developer evaluate the site landscaping throughout the site and bring anything into compliance that is not.
Absolutely, yeah.
Motion to amend. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion to amend? No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Back to the motion as amended. Further discussion?
Thank you, sir.
No further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Item D is approved. Thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you for the input. We appreciate that.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Next item under new business is item E, 2050 Comprehensive Plan on the agenda for discussion. Director Etzloff.
Thank you. I wanted to go through a few housekeeping type items. No decision making this evening. I would ask for some feedback on a couple of things. At the last meeting, we debriefed our April 11th Rural Preservation Workshop, and one of the suggestions from the Plan Commission was to essentially add into the Rural Preservation District the land east of State Highway 145, Fond du Lac Avenue. And what I've taken is just a zoomed in on the area there where was the most concern, and drew with the red line the highway. And as you can see, it bisects what was proposed as the Dinesville neighborhood, the Lovers Lane neighborhood, and then leaves off to the east, the Rockfield neighborhood. So with that recommendation to move everything east of 145 back into rural preservation, it raises a couple of issues, particularly for me, because of the Dinesville situation. And I'm hopeful that maybe we can do some minor tweaking of that to retain the Dinesville neighborhood in some way, in anticipation of possibly adding some higher density residential development to continue the existing pattern that was established around the Dinesville area. And I've highlighted in the blue dashed line what would be the remnant of the Dinesville neighborhood if we went ahead and did subtract out, if you will, the balance of the land east of 145 and put it back into the rural preservation district. And what I'm suggesting is, as you can see here, right, just north of the Maple and Holy Hill intersection is a small area that actually lies east of 145. It's an area that's in the village, not in the town, which would be the land immediately to the north and to the east. But it's land that lies north of the intersection, includes the park. So there's some continuity there immediately around the intersection, as well as the land that we've identified as a future residential buffer, if you will, west of 145, between 145 and the industrial mixed-use development area that we're calling the Holy Hill Gateway District. So I'm just curious if this does anything for anybody. Does this make sense, or should we strictly go back to just everything east of Fond du Lac Avenue and just put it in the green?
Commissioners? Trustee Shad, I'm sorry, Commissioner Shadid.
Oh, I'm not trustee.
No, Commissioner.
Is that a promotion?
You
Okay.
got it.
Now, I want to make sure I understand what you mean. Is that little, just to the little small section to the east of the highway?
Yeah.
Not the other part that you got outlined in blue?
The other part to the left or to the west, I'd like to retain as the Dinesville neighborhood.
So the whole thing, or,
The whole thing in the dashed line.
okay, I just wasn't be sure I had to.
Yeah, what's west of it is not currently in the environmental,
Right?
and then what's east is just that little bump out that he wants to include. Excuse me.
Right now, effectively, the staff proposals of the Plan Commission and what we've taken to the public as part of the workshop was just this, that we'd have east of the Holy Hill Gateway District and north of Freistadt Road and the railroad would be the Isabel Farms, Dinesville Neighborhood, Rockfield, and Lovers Lane as four neighborhoods, if you will, for future residential development. Assuming that these areas would be served by the potential sewer service area expansions that could serve these areas.
So half the area you're kind of taking out of rural preservation is a park. So really, it's just that small triangle west of, what's the north-south road? Maple?
Yeah.
West of Maple and east of 145, kind of where the VI is in Dinesville.
Yeah. I mean, again, the underlying question is, does this make sense to you
Yes.
to go ahead and do that if that's what we're going to do and roll back and expand the rural preservation district to now include the Rockfield neighborhood and everything east of 145 as shown here, with the exception of that little triangle around Dinesville?
Yes.
The conversations I have been having with people is north and east of 145 was rural preservation. That was the 5-acre lots. So I think this makes sense to do what you've got shown here.
Because it's mostly is that,
My,
except for the little bump out, which just gives continuity.
my question goes to rumors I've heard about Holy Hill Road being extended through. And what does that do for this area if Holy Hill Road were to be improved all the way through the 43? They are currently building an interchange at Highway 43, which lines up with this. So is this going to be a connection street between 4145 and Highway Interstate 43? How does that developed road get through this area? Really starts to become a question, but that's a more detailed question. What are you going to do if that does come to fruition? We've got 50-year plans out for Mequon Road that aren't going to be in our lifetime.
Yeah, frankly, I don't think that's worthy of our consideration at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't had any discussions about that.
I'm
Extending
hearing
through
it
the
through the
village of German.
grapevine, so that's the only reason why I bring it up. But personally, I think the way you've got it right now is the best way to go.
Most of that Rockfield neighborhood is the town of isn't it?
Yes, a good part of it is. The area closest to the railroad is sort of built up. You know, there's a significant amount of 1 to 5 acre lot development in there, all on individual well and septic systems. It's the old Rockfield area.
Yeah, it's its own island neighborhood, really, in that area.
It really is. I mean, I suppose you could identify it as the Rockfield neighborhood and have it stand as a sort of a hole in the donut, a yellow area, you know, in the midst of surrounded by the rural preservation green, but it doesn't necessarily make any sense at this point.
So by doing that and including that Rockfield, I'm sorry, that Rockfield Road or Rockfield neighborhood in the rural preservation, does that then negate it from any possibility of sewer and water extension if something would start to happen in that neighborhood where they would need or want that?
Yes, that would be the intention.
Okay.
I mean, by designating rural preservation, we are effectively declaring this is an area that we would only allow any sort of development would be very low density. And it would be intended for the preservation of the rural landscape character,
Right.
agricultural
That I have.
practices, and
But what if their septics in the future, way down the road, and I'm not wishing anything upon anybody, but they would have well issues and or septic issues, or the county would decide for whatever reason they don't want to extend their permits for septic. Would we be able to put a sewer line up there if requested, based on it being in rural preservation? And I'm not planning on it, but I'm just looking down the road 20 some years.
right. The answer is possibly because the potential sewer service area expanded that far east, that it could be extended, but that would necessitate it being extended from essentially where it is now at Goldendale at Holy Hill all the way east.
Right. Okay.
I mean, originally we talked about what's shown here as the west side of the Dinesville neighborhood within the dashed blue line, the yellow area, as a buffer between the industrial and the rural area further east.
Right.
And it was intended that that would be smaller lot and potentially served by sewer and water. And that would essentially be the furthest extent of that service.
Right.
That's planned for this area.
Right. Okay.
Is this section of the Rockfield area underneath the word field and hood, is that in the town of Germantown or is that in the village of Germantown?
It's a village.
That's the village. Yes. You know, and the elementary school would be back in the rural preservation area.
Right.
Fine with that.
Okay. I think it makes sense.
Yep.
I agree with it. I
Okay.
agree with what you have there.
I support it too, yes.
All right, well, then we'll try and reflect this on the next series of maps for further input before it eventually goes to the Plan Commission as part of a public hearing, and you'd ultimately need to make a recommendation on this and any other expansions or contractions, if you will, of the rural preservation district boundary.
Okay.
So all the other colored up, lined up maps that came out of that meeting are still potential for change.
I would say yes. I know we haven't put it to the Plan Commission, or yes or no, up or down on whether you want this in or out.
Did here? We did here? I mean, originally it was in as part of it and we moved it.
Yeah, but the other areas as well.
What came out of that roundtable meeting?
I mean, quite frankly, what came out of the roundtable meeting was expand the rural preservation area
Cover everything.
to cover everything that was shown as potential sewer service area. And in some cases, the recommendation was to go even further than that and to roll it all back so that the existing sewer service area was the ultimate and only sewer service area.
Right. That makes it difficult to finance long-term. And then it almost makes it have sense to look for other sources for financing for that service, that sewer service area. You can't shut it down from all development because you have to finance it long-term for maintenance and infrastructure replacement. You have a large area to cover from the railroad tracks up to Holy Hill Road that has nothing that's heavily tied to the sewer. And it's going to need some sort of development long-term to help offset costs in the future.
Right, and we discussed that at length the last time, and which was sort of the driving force behind this being the only substantive direction from the Plan Commission with regard to changing the rural preservation boundary at this point in time, and that was to roll it back to 145.
Okay.
And all I'm asking is with respect to this Dinesville triangle
Bump it
piece.
out. Okay.
But it sort of takes us to the next topic of 2 out of 3 for this evening, and that is the May 23rd workshop.
Mhm.
You know, we talked about it being a public input session. We wanted more opportunity for public input and less staff talking and presentation sort of stuff. So that's what we're going to do. At this point, the topic is land use and development, but you know, I'm looking for some feedback tonight. We're meeting with the consultant tomorrow to go over the 23rd workshop. They're going to be leading it. Grafe, the consultant, will be leading the workshop. At this point, it's intended to be sort of an informal table or station type setup where we'll have either geographic areas at each station or a specific topic. Could be anywhere from 3 to 6 stations at this point. But again, I'm open to any suggestions at this point. The original thought was we have 32 neighborhood districts and corridors, 20 neighborhoods, 10 districts, 2 corridors. We could have essentially 3 tables, 3 stations, the neighborhoods, the districts, and the corridors, and present the maps, the matrix, talk about the land uses, the allowable and the desirable and the undesirable uses for that. Or we could expand that to include those 3 tables, some specific topics. If you wanted to have a specific topic, we could have another station for the Village Center District. We could have one for the Holy Hill Gateway / Freistadt District. Break that out separately.
Yeah, I'll voice my opinion. I think there is a lot of potential discussion for certain zones, the town center, Main Street, Mequon Road corridor. Certain areas have development, are prone for more development. We have hashed out Holy Hill Road and the Freistadt District throughout the development of that area in the past year. So I think that's, for me, that's less critical to talk about. We did the discussion on the northeast, the rural preservation area. Southwest or southeast, I don't see a whole lot of developing happening down there. It's subdivision, those are all closed out. So I don't see much talk about Windsong and those subdivisions down there. So if we can limit it to a few areas and not every area, because I think certain areas just don't have much to talk about because I don't see much development potential there.
Right.
But I would like to hear feedback from those who want to talk about the various areas. You know, I'd be very interested in talking about Main Street and the Central Business District, Mequon Road corridor. Lannon and County Line Road has been a hot spot. I'd like to hear more feedback on that. I think I've heard enough about Holy Hill. I've heard enough about rural preservation. So I'd like to see a few tables on a few distinct topics as opposed to everything about one issue.
So how many did you just have?
I've got, for me, Central Business District, Main Street, Mequon Road corridor, Lannon and County Line.
Okay, so Main Street are you distinguishing Main Street and Mequon Road corridor from the town center?
I don't remember what all of our, if you had our map, I'd tell you which ones
That
on
would
the
be
map.
town center.
Town center,
Yeah, the Village Center District includes Main Street and Mequon Road and the
both of them,
corridor.
yeah, then that's just one. Sure, if you counted 4, I counted 3.
So could you go over that again then? The Village Center with.
Village
includes Main Street
Center,
and Mequon.
Mequon corridor, which takes us over towards Mequon and 4145, Lannon and County Line Road. Those are 3 areas that are hot for development.
Okay.
I'm not sure what else is prime for development. I think everything else is. I don't need to talk anymore about Holy Hill Road or Freistadt because that's been debated to death.
So you're also looking at encompassing Appleton Avenue from Lannon to County Line?
Sure, we can talk about that development.
I mean, we could divide the village into just
Fours?
4 sections if you want.
Yeah,
and
there's-
handle it that way, but
Could go by,
I'm willing to talk to anybody about anything, but for me, there's only a few areas that really need to be hit.
you could look at it as what you'd like to discuss more. You could look at it as by district, and then in each district, how many, and meaning the 4 districts, and breaking those into 3 tables each, which would be the neighborhoods, the corridor, if there isn't one or is one, and then the districts.
so you're talking about the suggestion that we heard this evening to use the trustee districts?
Right, and then break it into, if there happens to be all 3 of those conditions in, then you could break 3 tables out of that, and then if there's only 1 or 2 within, then you can only break the 1 or 2 out of that.
So with that said, presumably the purpose for breaking into the trustee districts would be to have each of those trustees sitting at the table and listening to what's being said for their particular district.
And also get questions that they want, because people are going to, most people care about what's in their backyard and what's going to be happening in it. Everyone wants to know what's happening and exciting about the village, but when it comes to directly impacting them, it's what's happening out my window. And that's what's going to drive people into the meetings to discuss or give some input into. So I think if we break it down into those districts, and then whatever is occurring within those districts, meaning the corridors, the neighborhood, or those 3 classifications, then you can do it that way and get more input across each of those possible developments in that area. I know there's not a lot happening in your district, but
All right.
it's impacted.
I'd echo that. When folks
But,
come, they're going
but
to.
it's what's important to get input into is, we've discussed how to keep it in a rural look.
Yeah.
And before the edict was, not the edict, but the land use direction was nothing under 5 acres. So that really points it into a direction. 5 acres or more, you're fine. If you're going to go single family, you got to do 5 acres. So now we're trying to give it more of a rural preservation look, or more openness, and trying to maintain that openness. So the suggestion of neighborhoods and clusters is a way to do that. It isn't the only way to do it, but it gives somebody a visual of what that looks like. I'm not saying that they all have to be like this, but I'd want some input as to what other people think they should be. I know what we've presented as a possibility, but it doesn't mean that that's the catch-all. It's just a way to visualize how that might look, but maybe there's somebody out there that has a way better idea about it, or wants to go back to the 20 acres. I don't know, but we know that one of our tasks through the surveys is that we're not doing enough, or haven't done enough, to preserve the rural aspect of Germantown. And it's always been an important portion of the surveys that we've had since I've been on the board.
Can I ask a couple more questions about using the districts as the basis for the stations?
Mhm.
Are we is someone going to task the trustees to come to the meeting and be present?
Think that as representatives of their district, they would just want to be here.
Okay, so then we would,
I don't know. I'm putting it out there, but I would hope, okay, put it this way. I would hope that they would want to be here
I mean,
for that reason, to hear the input.
that will help with us strategizing and frankly, logistically needing to advertise because we're going to have to post it as a joint
Right.
meeting of the board.
Right, I would I think that that's a good way, because then it's not, well, it's not read from meeting notes, it's not read from a summary. You're hearing it. Not only are you hearing it, but you're also hearing the emotion part of it, because some of it will be emotional. Some people will have some emotional response to what's being proposed. So I think that's a good source, and a good way for them to get first view. I know I would want it when I was a trustee of District 4.
So do you want us to have a separate station for each trustee district, or should we combine as was suggested earlier this evening?
I think we could get one for each.
I think one for each? I was
Well,
gonna say.
I
you
would
got-
say, you'd have them broken into, you'd have the signs of fourth district, first district, whatever, and then within that, you'd break it into your 3 sections.
Yeah, so you'd have 2 trustees and a plan commission member for 3 District 1 topics. Is that what you're thinking?
If District 1 has all that within it. So if you look at them, and I wish I had it in front of me, but if we look at the 2050 plan and put it into districts, do all the districts encompass neighborhoods, districts, and all the different types of breakouts that we're showing?
Probably not.
Okay, well,
Because
then
I think
that's how
the
it should
more
be.
populated districts right in the center of the village are going to be much smaller, and probably include maybe certainly some neighborhoods, and then maybe the part of the village center district, but no rural preservation.
And what we may want to think about, because people are going to want to know what's happening within a district, but maybe there's a time too, to break that and say, okay, if you're interested in, like in District 2, you have the Main Street corridor area. If you're interested in learning about that, now would be the time to go to District 2 for District 3, 1, and 4.
Yeah, residents of District 1 may be content with the rural preservation, but they want to have input on the central business district.
Right.
So they'd want to go sit in on that table.
So you could kind of
So we'll
create
have to
an
figure that out,
intermission
so
and
we're
then
not-
mix.
Yeah, because we won't be able to duplicate a separate section for Main Street, the village center for this district station, and then have the same thing at this. We'll have to figure out a way to try and cut it both ways.
Well, even
Trustee
when-
districts and neighborhood districts corridors.
When I think about it, the Ehlers, you'll first go with the presentation and whatever surveys that they want to put up there for people to participate in, and then it'll pretty much be open discussion. So it's going to be loud in here, and I think everybody's going to move wherever they want to go at that point. So I don't think you need to create the break, because you're just going to have this, you're going to define it as to where it is and what it is, but people are going to end up going in the areas that have most interest, either that
Saying
because
that
of what impacts them or because of what they're interested
So
in.
that you would mark them, you would know where your district
Yeah.
was, but you didn't necessarily have to sit there.
Well, I'm not going to edict it. If you're in District 1, you have to go into District 1 to start, and
That's
you
what
can't go into District 2
But
if that's what you're interested in.
That's what I mean. You provide that opportunity, but they do go where they want.
Sure, pretty much.
Okay, but the positive side of having the trustees there, in my opinion, is that's also your conduit to what you disagree with in another section of the village. So those are the people that are going back to the village board.
Mhm.
So if I tell my trustee that I don't like something on Holy Hill Road, well, he or she is going to need to carry that back, is my opinion.
Right.
So I have that conduit. So that's what I like about that.
Okay, so we have some direction. We'll try and pull something together.
Okay,
Figure it out.
good.
Yeah.
Good. I did read something interesting in the local paper that Richfield has just finished up their informational, not a survey, but kind of their informational meetings on all their zoning ordinances, and have had meetings specifically for residents to learn. And it took them 2 years
Right.
to go through it. And I thought that was interesting and something that we should look at long term as we go forward.
Yeah, the next phase would be to look at the development codes and revise accordingly to implement the plan.
Yeah, I guess the question that is begged, is this a finite document or is it a fluid document that'll ever be changing?
Both.
Well, it's more the latter, yeah.
Right. But it shows a direction of what is not only looked at as possible acceptance of a development, but at the same time, what is not. To start with, it points a direction for developers as what we always wanted. And then at the same time, it gives an understanding of those that live in that area of what the impacts may be if I choose to move into this area, or if I live here now, and what could happen in the future.
Okay. A couple more things related to that. We've used the Mentimeter polling, the live polling a couple of times, and we've made an investment into that program. The thought is that we try and use that again. Is that a good idea, do you
I think
think?
in the beginning, I think they should, yeah.
Do you have any specific questions that you'd like us to present?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay.
I can think about it.
All right, give it some thought, and if you have any suggestions, forward those. The last thing I want to talk about
This is
was,
the May 23rd meeting, right?
yeah.
So we're also coming off of the MyFest weekend. That should also have some information that could be,
Yeah, that was my next topic, was to
Okay.
talk about MyFest. Just logistically, it's 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I talked to Charlie Hargan. He thought it was probably best that we not try and do something on Friday. I think we talked about that too. Is there, it's 5 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. You pay to get in, and it's bands, and I don't think anybody's going there to.
it's what?
So that leaves Saturday from 11 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. and Sunday from 12 noon to 8 p.m. We have a space, we have a table that we'll be sharing with the American Legion. So the space isn't going to be great, but it'll be under the tent, and we'll have room for, we can present some display boards. I guess the question is, what do we want to share? What kind of feedback are we looking for? Are we looking for more land use and development feedback? Do we want something on some other topic?
I think if there's a couple things that booth should do, and anybody can interject. This is just my opinion. First of all, you're gonna show the districts as they're being presented. We have that map in the hallway, and some revises have just been done to it. So there should be a big visual of that, like behind the table somehow, so that you can always point to it or use it as a defining factor. At the same time, there should be 8.5 by 11s of that same map to hand out, so that people can take it home and look at it and study it. I think that we should also look at presenting some literature, and it doesn't have to be thousands and thousands of pieces, but probably a couple hundred of the different definitions of the zoning of what's acceptable and what isn't acceptable. So if I live in this area, what can happen and what can't happen? And I'm just a handout. This is what it is, and a small explanation of how to read it so that they can see what it is. And then from that, we can also ask for input of what you'd like to see as future development in Germantown. So it'd be kind of like a little, not a survey sense, but it would be maybe a question of what kind of development would you like to see in Germantown? What kind of development would you not like to see in Germantown? Kind of a question.
Is that not showing the matrix of the acceptable, unacceptable, desirable of
We
every
are
district?
giving ability to hand out that matrix, because the matrix to the most residents is going to blur their eyes.
Yeah.
So it needs an explanation, but also it shows a definition of what it is, and somebody there that sits at the table and kind of helps to explain it in a sense. It doesn't need to be in details, but it's just what it's showing you. What is this showing you?
So when you go to a hotel and you're getting ready to go out to dinner after you've checked in, you go to some little kiosk-y area, and there's little flyers for every business and boat rental place in the whole area.
Yeah.
Are you looking for something similar to that, where each neighborhood district and corridor has like a separate flyer that has a map of it, and on one side and on the back has like the matrix
It could.
with some
You
explanation?
tell me how difficult that is.
We kind of have.
Right, I know. And so you would just have to replicate it in 8.5 by 11. And I don't think you need 8,000 of each of them. I think you just need a couple hundred.
Or is it,
A couple hundred of each?
is it,
Okay.
is
Well,
it really
that's
that
just
you have,
3,200. That's an hour on a Xerox.
Is it that you have a few of them sitting on the table so that I can look through it?
Yes.
And then if you want to go look through it over time, you can go to the website and pull it off the website.
Right. I look at it as a point to go there and either learn about what the 20, because I've heard about it and I want to see what it is and I can't, for whatever reason. It also should point to a direction on our website, how to provide input if you wish. So that would be part of the handout. And that could be on the 8.5 by 11 of the whole thing. On the back, it could have information of how you can get involved, any future meetings, and how to get information on the website.
Go to the pinpoint and leave your comment.
Right.
Okay. As far as the time, I mean, presumably this is going to be a manned,
Right.
that's not the
I
right
think
word.
Saturday, I wouldn't go past 5. It's like you go noon to 5 or 1 to 5. In most cases, from 11 to 1, you've got the presentations, the dancers come in, the Burgermeister does the crowning of the MyFest Queen. And there's really not that many people from 11 to 12 there, normally. It's been my experience. I would do probably a 1 to 5. Most people go there for lunch and then they go there for the night. So you want to catch that afternoon crowd.
On Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
As far as having people there, is that something that the expectation is that staff is going to be there the full time, or is there some volunteer
It was
effort?
just staff. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I guess, part of the
I
thing we
think
talked about, like with the next workshop, is having trustees available to get more feedback firsthand and not filtered through, some written comment sheet that we put together at the end of the day.
What day is that
Said
Saturday?
we should present a sign-up sheet at the next village board meeting
I'll be happy to attend on Saturday.
of the whatever, if you want to run it on Sunday for a couple hours, I think that we should say to the trustees, here's your opportunity. And have them man it that way, and that way we know it's covered. And Jan, you can't take all the slots. But I think a sign-up sheet helps to fill it, and then we would just need to get where we could get the information from you and at what time on,
Okay.
I think they usually set up Thursday nights.
All right. Yeah, we'll try and make it as easy as possible for those that are there at the table, that they don't need to have some in-depth, thorough knowledge of
Right.
everything. It's try and make it as self-explanatory as possible, but give them direction on where they could go for more
The
information.
information to come this way. I want to give information of what it's about,
Yeah.
but I don't want to present opinion and or direction. I want everything like this way at that type of event. That's how I see it.
Right. Now, there was a suggestion, I think it was Jan's suggestion for July 4th, that we offer some incentive for providing that feedback. Is that something that we need to talk about now? Is there any interest in that?
It was like a free drink card, right? Ticket to get a drink, free drink of your choice. Alcoholic or non-alcoholic, depending on. Not giving an 8-year-old the alcoholic one. For his dad.
Provide,
Well,
Did I see you before?
presumably somebody's going to have to pay for those tickets that we're handing out, right? So do we need to be concerned about that? Money being spent on
I think it's-
alcohol?
It comes off the bottom line. Oh, stop. Okay. Originally, you had thought that you were going to use a room in the senior center. Has that now changed? Well, you'd have to talk to a senior center. You can't assume anything in that building. You have to you'd have to ask for, even though it's our building, it's always nice to present it. Okay.
I think you hide it inside, you lose participants.
No, we were thinking about right inside that door that's faces kind of right, you go in that back door and there used to be a room to check your blood pressure just to the right.
So,
Okay.
so that
Those
really,
details can still be worked out.
I think you put it inside.
that's
you're
more,
right.
that's certainly for July 4th,
Right,
the senior center. And that's a little bit down the road.
right.
My Fest, we're here at under a tent on the parking lot. I'm just thinking logistically, so do we want the person who's manning the table to offer the drink tickets and to check IDs that you prove that you
No,
live
this is,
there?
we're
or
not
how-
giving anything away at my fest.
Okay, that was my original question. Did we
Right.
want to do incentives for my Fest? And
No.
the answer is no. Okay. Okay.
You can't,
Um,
you'd be holding on to the drink tickets.
And Janice is suggesting both Saturday and Sunday from 1 PM or 12 to
12 to
5
5?
PM? Are we
Yeah,
want both days?
yeah. I think that hour would go fast. Yeah, 2.5 hours would be good. That way you got it covered. You could get two people there easy though. And you have to, and then you have to supply your own lederhosen. It's my fest. You gotta dress up. You're gonna. No, that's fine. That sounds good.
All right, that's, I think I have enough information to
Okay.
run with at this point.
Good. Anything else for Eden? No? All right. Any announcements? Okay. Then we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you all for watching and have a good night.